Hey, what's happening, nation? It's Sunjoku. Last night's loss completely sucked. I wasn't even so much pissed off that we lost the game as much as just how we played and how we executed. That first half offensively was a freaking joke, and that's really all you can say. As soon as we came out in that game and went run, pass, punt, I knew that game was over to start. The game plan changed. It was what I was scared of shit. It was one of the things I had mentioned throughout this week a few different times, is that if we ended up going back to that play style of having Josh Jacobs back on the field and back in the offense, it was going to bite us in the ass, and we saw it. We saw it happen firsthand. We're going to take a look at it tonight. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's one of my favorite shows to do throughout the week. If you are new to the channel, please do think about subscribing. I really do appreciate that, and it really does help me out. We're not going to waste too much time. We're going to go ahead and jump straight into this. We're going to start with the ugly as usual. Number one on the list is just this game as a whole. The way that we played from start to finish offensively, with the exception of the third quarter, is really unacceptable. I thought our defense actually showed out pretty damn well throughout this game. We got a little bit banged up, but that defense kept us in this game for an extremely long time until they eventually just got so wore down they ended up giving up a few more touchdowns, which is some shit I did not want to see again from this Raider team. But you got to give credit where credit is due. The Chargers played a hell of a game last night. That team looks like they are pretty legitimate. They've knocked us off. They knocked the Chiefs off. And now we're in a three-way tie for first place in the AFC West. And I am happy as shit about that. There's been a lot of people after this loss that have really been shitting on this team, and it's like, man, that was one game. We still have a shit ton of football left. And if you don't think that Derek Carr and Gruden are going to come out and kick the shit out of the Bears and make a statement against them, because they will be extremely pissed off after this game, and you could see the frustration in both of their faces once this thing was over. Number two, for the ugly, Alex Leatherwood's penalties, man, this shit's starting to get a little bit out of hand, and it is really driving me crazy. It took us out of some seriously good situations in last night's game that really could have flipped the tide of that entire damn thing. Him and Tom Cable need to figure this out and figure it out fast, because he made it to the ugly list. We cannot have that shit on a week-to-week basis. It will kill us. Finally, on the ugly list, Damon Arlette looked truly awful. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Was legitimately torched on that one play. If Herbert would have got a better throw off, that was a touchdown all damn day. And he didn't even stay with him like right at the start of the play. As soon as that ball was snapped, Mike Williams had 3 steps on him and it was going to the house. And then a few plays later, he ended up dropping his shoulder and trying to tackle with his back, and Eckler put his ass out of the game. And it sucks to see somebody get hurt again. Someone who has struggled with injuries throughout the start of their career. I was happy as hell to end up seeing Amik Robertson come in there and get his shot to be a starter. And they kept showing it, like in the screen, they would circle it at the top, and it would be Amik standing across from Williams, and just the size difference there. And I was like, holy shit, dude, they're going to exploit that for the rest of the game. And they weren't able to. Amik ended up coming in and playing a hell of a game. Watching some of these younger depth pieces hit the field is where you find some of these hidden gems, and I'm really hoping that Amik can end up cracking and being one of those special players like Hobbs is. He has an outside shot at doing it. I know I have not been the highest on Amik Robertson, but after watching and seeing how Arnett played, I have lost complete confidence in that kid, I'm not going to lie. That pretty much wraps up the ugly. That was the stuff that I saw that just truly kind of disgusted me throughout that game. We're going to go ahead and jump into the bad. Number one on the bad list was the injuries. We acquired even more injuries throughout this game. I did not want to see that shit happen. I really want to end up finding out what's going to be going on with Mullen. Hopefully he's not out for too long. Like I said before, Damon Arnett ended up getting knocked out of this game. Merrick ended up tweaking a little thing, so we're going to have to see where that ends up going. But I think he's going to end up being fine. But that secondary really became depleted towards the end of that game. Josh Jacobs being back on the field, you could tell his ass was not 100% at all. Nowhere even close. There was a point throughout that game where I did not want to see him on the field anymore. Number two on the bad list was just pretty much our overall game plan for this game. It did not work at all, and we did not adjust away from it as fast as we should have. You could tell Gruden had a definitive plan for this entire game, and when it was not working, he should have swapped that shit out, but he continued to stick with it until halftime, and at that point, we dug ourselves into a pretty deep ass hole. Carr came out slinging in the third quarter. We were able to put up some touchdowns, but by that point, our defense was so wore out that they could not make those crucial stops that we needed to. We had one opportunity to tie this thing up, and we all saw what happened with that. And finally on the bad list was just our ability to pick up the blitz through that fucking game. I don't understand what was happening. Chargers kept trying to figure out different ways for Joey Bosa to end up being man-on-man with somebody. Raiders kept adjusting and putting the double team on him, but it was leaving a linebacker literally untouched coming through that offensive line every time they blitzed. These are all things that can be fixed through a week of practice, but just seeing that blitz consistently work over and over again because we are so preoccupied by Bosa, knowing that he was going to be able to get through if he was singled up, but leaving a linebacker coming through untouched, that's putting a hell of a lot of pressure on Carr to either get the ball out fast or get his ass out of the pocket as soon as possible. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the good. Number one on this list is Andre James played a hell of a lot better this week. I know he wasn't perfect. I know our offense looked like complete shit the majority of this game, but his snaps looked like they were on point. He was not getting ran over as soon as he did snap the ball, but it's also his job to work the communication across that offensive line, and I think he was missing some things. I think he was so focused on making sure everything else was perfect that he missed a few calls that he should have made on the field. Overall, I think that kid did play a hell of a lot better of a game, so I did want to put him on the good list and just kind of give him a little bit of a shout out because we have been shitting on him for a couple weeks now, and like I said, if he can settle in, I really think that kid could be a legitimate center for a long time for our team. Number two on the good list, Perryman and Littleton, man, those two are showing out right now. I knew that Littleton was going to step up in Gus Bradley's system, but I did not expect Perryman to come in and just kind of take over that defensive leadership right in the middle of the field. I understand that he's played and worked with Gus Bradley in the past. I just didn't think he had it left in him. He is playing like he played 4 or 5 years ago. He looks incredibly damn good. He's playing through some injuries, and he's still making big-ass plays for us. I have been super, super impressed by him. And then KJ Wright, I think you guys are right. I think when Morrow comes back, you're going to end up seeing KJ Wright kind of move to that rotational piece, and Morrow's going to end up taking over that Sam spot. At that point, I think we have an insanely good linebacker room with depth pieces like KJ Wright and Kwiatkowski and a starting three that could hang with anybody in the NFL. Cannot wait to see that shit. Number three on this list, it's Philon. He played one hell of a game. He ended up having 2 sacks. He was getting all sorts of pressure. I think that defensive line front just played another incredible game. That rotation drives me insane. We have so much talent across that front four. With the rotation that we have, teams are fearing us, and I'm loving seeing every second of that. Jefferson did end up getting hurt during this game, another injury I forgot to mention. Hopefully it's nothing too crazy and he will be back next week because I really love having him lined up next to Philon. I think those two bring the most interior pressure. 4 on this list comes from the offensive side of the ball. I know there was not too much good happening on that side of the ball, but I really feel like Carr and Ruggs are starting to build a real rapport and a little bit of a chemistry. I've really been pleased with him being worked more and more into this offense, and just Carr willing to take those shots to him either down the field or just cutting across the middle of the field and giving him those opportunities. It's something that he did not see last season, but it's something that we're seeing a hell of a lot more of through these first couple weeks. I want to see that bond continue to grow. I think if Carr, Ruggs, and Edwards can gel as one unit, they could be one of the better receiver tandems in the league. And that's huge for teams, especially going through the season. If those 3 guys can stay healthy, I'm really expecting huge things out of both Ruggs and Edwards. Pretty much what I have for you guys tonight. One quick mention that I forgot to put on the ugly list was the officiating in this game. It completely sucked from start to finish. Somebody hit me up in the comments section. If so-and-so ref is officiating this game, the Raiders always lose. But to me, it honestly seemed like for both the Raiders and the Chargers, that officiating crew just sucked as a unit. But hit me up in the comments section. Let me know your guys' thoughts on it. Let me know if there's anything you think I missed. Or there's anything you would definitely add to either any of these lists. But until next time, guys, I'm Sanjoku. Thank you very much for checking it out. If you can click that like button on your way out, it really does help me out and keep me growing. We will catch you guys on the next one.